My Dear Theo, The Letters of Vincent van Gogh, from 1872 to 1873, presented by Carl Olsen, the artful painter. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Sunday, 29th of September, 1872. My dear Theo, thanks for your letter. I was glad to hear that you got back safely. I missed you the first few days, and it was strange for me not to find you when I came home in the afternoon. We spent some pleasant days together, and actually did go for some walks and see a thing or two whenever we had the chance. What terrible weather! You must feel anxious on your walks to Easterwijk. Yesterday there were trotting races on the occasion of the exhibition, but the illumination and fireworks were postponed because of the bad weather, so it's just as well you didn't stay to see them. Regards from the Hanebeks and the Rooses. Ever your loving Vincent. To Hendrik Verzel, The Hague, Saturday, 26th October 1872. Dear Sir, I regret that I have been unable to obtain any of the items you specified, since they all fetched more than the prices specified. They were all purchased by Mr. Van Stockham, who had apparently been acting on commission. I do not know for whom, but hope to be able to discover it, since I know Mr. Van Stockham's son, and he has promised to make inquiries. As soon as I hear anything, I shall write informing you. The auction was very well attended, and I have heard that in general the prices paid were higher than usual. Approximately 30 guilders was paid for the numbers specified. With the request that you pay my respects to the De Jong family, I am, yours faithfully, your obedient servant, V.W. van Gogh. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Friday, 13th December 1872. My dear Theo, that was good news that I just read in Pa's letter. My hearty congratulations. I don't doubt that it will give you pleasure. It's such a fine firm. It would be a big change for you. I'm so glad that both of us are now in the same line of business and in the same firm. We must correspond often. I hope so much to see you before you leave. We'll have a lot to talk about. I believe that Brussels is a very pleasant city, though it will seem strange at first. At all events, write to me soon. And now, adieu. These are only a few words written in haste, but I just had to tell you how very glad I was. I wish you well, and believe me ever, your loving brother, Vincent. I pity your having to go to Oosterwijk every day in this beastly weather. Regards from the Rooses. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, mid-January 1873. My dear Theo, I heard from home that you arrived safe and sound in Brussels, and that your first impression was good. I understand completely how strange it will be in the beginning, but be of good heart, you'll surely succeed. You must write to me soon about how things are going and how your boarding house suits you. I hope that the latter will be all right. Pa wrote that you're good friends with Schmidt. Bravo. I think he's a fine fellow, and one who'd be sure to show you the ropes. How pleasant those days at Christmas were. I think of them so often. They'd also long be remembered by you, as they were also your last days at home. You must write to me in particular about what kind of paintings you see and what you find beautiful. I'm busy now at the beginning of the year. My new year began well. I was given a monthly rise of 10 guilders, so I now earn 50 guilders a month, and on top of that, I received a 50 guilder bonus. Isn't that wonderful? I now hope to be entirely self supporting. I'm really very happy that you're also part of this firm. It's such a fine firm. The longer one is part of it, the more enthusiastic one becomes. The beginning is perhaps more difficult than in other jobs, but keep your chin up and you'll get along. Do ask Schmidt what the Album Corot, lithographies par Émile Vernier costs. We've been asked about it in the shop, and I know it's in stock in Brussels. The next time I write, I'll send you my portrait. I had it taken last Sunday. Have you been to the Palais Ducal yet? Do go when you get the chance. How is Uncle Hein? I feel so sorry for him and hope so much that he'll get better. Give him and Aunt my warm regards. Did Uncle Sen stop off at Brussels? Well, old chap, keep well. All your acquaintances here send their regards and hope things will go well for you. Bid good day to Schmidt and Edward for me, and let me hear from you soon. Adieu, your loving brother Vincent. You know that my address is Lange-Beestenmarkt 32, or Maison Goupil and Compagnie, Platz. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Tuesday, 28th of January 1873. My dear Theo, it's good that you answered me so quickly. I'm glad that things are to your liking and that you've been lucky with your boarding house. Be of good heart if things sometimes get difficult. Everything will come right later on, and no one can do what he really wants in the beginning. How sorry I am about Uncle Hein. I sincerely hope he'll get better, but Theo, I fear he won't. Last summer, he was still so full of ambition and had so many plans and told me that business was going so well. It is indeed sad. Last Sunday, I was at Uncle Co's and had a very pleasant day there, and, as you can well imagine, so many beautiful things. As you know, Uncle has just been to Paris and has brought home splendid paintings and drawings. I stayed in Amsterdam on Monday morning and went to the museums again. Did you know that a large new building will take the place of the Trippenhaus in Amsterdam? That's fine with me. The Trippenhaus is too small, and many paintings hang in such a way that one can't see them properly. How I'd like to see that painting by Cloysenaar. I've seen only a few of his paintings, and those I find very beautiful. Write and tell me whether that other painting is by Alfred Stevens, or otherwise what his Christian name is. I know the photo of the Rota and even saw the painting at the Brussels exhibition. Do keep me constantly informed about whatever you see. That always gives me pleasure. The album whose title you gave me isn't the one I meant, which contains only lithographs after Corot. Thanks anyway for taking the trouble. I expect a letter from Anna soon. She's rather lazy about writing these days. You ought to surprise her with a letter sometime. That would give her so much pleasure. You must be very busy, but that's a good thing. It's cold here, and people are already skating on the flooded fields. I go walking as much as I can. I'm curious to know whether you'll find an opportunity to go skating. Herewith my portrait, but don't say anything about it when you write home. As you know, it's for Pa's birthday, on which I congratulate you ahead of the event. My warm regards to Uncle and Aunt, also to Mr. Schmidt and Edward. Ever your loving brother, Vincent. All at the Hannebakes, Aunt Fees and the Ruses send you their compliments. Adieu, I wish you well. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Monday, 17th March 1873. My dear Theo, it's time you heard from me again, and I'm also longing to hear how you are and how Uncle Hein is doing, so I hope you'll write to me when you can find the time. You'll have heard that I'm going to London, and probably very soon. I do hope we'll be able to see each other before then. I'll go to Helvoort at Easter if I possibly can, but it will depend on the nouveauté that Iterson takes along on his trip. I won't be able to leave until he gets back. Life in L will be very different for me, for I'll probably have to live alone in lodgings, and will therefore have to deal with many things that I needn't trouble myself with now. I'm looking forward to seeing L very much, as you can imagine, and yet I'm sorry to have to leave this place. I'm only just noticing how attached I am to The Hague, now that it's been decided I must go away. Still, it can't be helped, and I intend not to take things too hard. I think it's wonderful for my English, which I understand well, though I don't speak it nearly as well as I'd like. I heard from Anna that you had your portrait taken. If you can spare another, I commend myself. How is Uncle Hein? Certainly no better. And how is Aunt doing? Can Uncle keep himself occupied, and is he in a lot of pain? Give them my warm regards. I think of them so often. How is business with you? It must be busy, as it is here. You probably know your way around by now. How is your boarding house? Is it still to your liking? That's important. Above all, you must write more about the kind of things you see. Sunday, a fortnight ago, I was in Amsterdam to see an exhibition of the paintings going to Vienna from here. It was very interesting, and I'm curious as to the impression the Dutch will make in Vienna. I'm very curious about the English painters. We see so little of them, because almost everything stays in England. Goupil has no gallery in London. They only supply the trade. Uncle Cent is coming here at the end of the month. I'm longing to hear more from him. The Hanebeeks and Aunt Fee ask after you constantly and send you their regards. What wonderful weather we've been having. I'm taking advantage of it as much as I can. Last Sunday I went rowing with Willem. How much I'd have liked to stay here this summer, but we must take things as they come. And now, adieu. I wish you well and write to me. Bid good day to Uncle and Aunt, Schmidt and Edward from me. As to Easter, I'm just hoping. Ever, your loving brother Vincent. Mr. and Mrs. Rose and Willem also send you their regards. I just received your letter, for which I thank you. I'm very pleased with the portrait. It turned out well. If I hear anything more about my trip to Helvoort, I'll write to you immediately. It would be nice if we could arrive on the same day. Adieu. Theo, I must again recommend that you start smoking a pipe. It does you a lot of good when you're out of spirits, as I quite often am nowadays. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Monday, 24th March 1873. My dear Theo, would you mind checking whether a painting by Chotel is still in Brussels? It was sent from here on consignment on the 6th of May 1870, but perhaps Uncle has already sent it back to Paris. If that isn't the case, however, see that it's sent here immediately. We have every chance of selling it, but time is of the essence. I saw it last summer in your gallery and imagine it's probably still there. Bid good day to Uncle and Aunt and Mr. Schmidt and Edward for me. You'll have received my letter by now. Adieu. I wish you well. Vincent. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Monday, 5th of May, 1873. My dear Theo, you mustn't take it amiss, old chap, that I didn't remember your birthday. Many congratulations. I hope that things will continue to go well for you this year, and that you'll take more and more pleasure in your work. My time is drawing to a close. On Saturday, I'll go home and take my leave, and then on Sunday, on to Paris. I'm afraid it would end up being Monday, however, and that on Sunday I'll still be in Helvoort. I hope I'll be able to write to you in time about when I'll be passing through Brussels, but it's quite possible that I won't be able to, as I don't yet know for sure when I have to be in Paris at the latest. How are Uncle and Aunt? Have they moved yet? Be sure to write to me soon about that. I'll give you my address below. I'm writing in haste, as you can imagine I'm busy. Adieu. I wish you well. Give my warm regards to Uncle and Aunt, also to Mr. Schmidt and Edward. Ever your loving brother, Vincent. V.W. van Gogh. Care of Messrs. Goupil & Co., 17 Southampton Street, Strand, London. Mind, V.W. van Gogh, because otherwise there's likely to be confusion with letters for Uncle sent, who's only V. To Theo van Gogh, The Hague, Friday, 9th of May, 1873. My dear Theo, on Monday morning I leave Helvoort for Paris, passing through Brussels at 2:07. Do come to the station if you can, it would give me great pleasure. Before I forget, yesterday I showed your portrait to Mrs. Tersteeg, and she would like very much to have one. Would you have a chance to get another one and send it to me? If you can't do it now, try to think of it some other time. Theo, you have no idea how kind to me they all are here. You can imagine how sorry I am to have to part from so many friends. Adieu, old chap. Give my warm regards to Uncle and Aunt. Goodbye for now. Vincent. Find out whether you have to be at the Station du Nord or du Midi. To Theo van Gogh, London, Friday, 13th June, 1873. My dear Theo, You're probably longing to hear from me, so I don't want to keep you waiting for a letter any longer. I heard from home that you're now staying with Mr. Schmidt and that Pa has been to see you. I sincerely hope that this will be more to your liking than your previous boarding house, and don't doubt that it will be. Write to me soon. I'm longing to hear from you, and tell me how you're spending your days at present, and so on. Write to me especially about the paintings you've seen recently, and also whether anything new has been published in the way of etchings or lithographs. You must keep me well informed about this, because here I don't see much in that genre, as the firm here is just a stockroom. I'm very well, considering the circumstances. I've come by a boarding house that suits me very well for the present. There are also 3 Germans in the house who really love music and play piano and sing themselves, which makes the evenings very pleasant indeed. I'm not as busy here as I was in The Hague, as I only have to be in the office from 9 in the morning until 6 in the evening, and on Saturdays I'm finished by 4 o'clock. I live in one of the suburbs of London where it's comparatively quiet. It's a bit like Tilburg or some such place. I spent some very pleasant days in Paris and, as you can imagine, very much enjoyed all the beautiful things I saw at the exhibition and in the Louvre and the Luxembourg. The Paris branch is splendid and much larger than I'd imagined, especially the Place de l'Opéra. Life here is very expensive. I pay 18 shillings a week for my lodgings, not including the washing, and then I still have to eat in town. Last Sunday, I went on an outing with Mr. Obach, my superior, to Box Hill, which is a high hill, some 6 hours from London, partly of chalk and covered with box trees, and on one side a wood of tall oak trees. The countryside here is magnificent, completely different from Holland or Belgium. Everywhere one sees splendid parks with tall trees and shrubs where one is allowed to walk. During the Whitsun holiday, I also took a nice trip with those Germans, but those gentlemen spend a great deal of money and I shan't go out with them anymore. I was glad to hear from Pa that Uncle H is reasonably well. Would you give my warm regards to him and Aunt and give them news of me? Bid good day to Mr. Schmidt and Edward from me, and write to me soon. Adieu, I wish you well. Vincent. My address is care of Messrs. Goupil and Company, 17 Southampton Street, Strand, London. To Willem and Caroline van Stockholm-Hannebeek. London, Wednesday, 2nd of July 1873. My dear friends, I wanted to write to you even earlier, and now I don't want to put it off any longer. How are you? I've heard that you have made your house as neat as a new pin and that you're doing well. I commend myself expressly to hear something from you, should you have a moment at your disposal. I'm doing well here. I'm seeing a lot of new and beautiful things and have had luck in finding a good boarding house, so that I already feel relatively settled here. Still, I haven't forgotten The Hague and should very, very much like to spend another evening in the Poten and also look in on you. This branch is just a stockroom and is therefore completely different from working in The Hague, though I'm sure I'll get used to it. I'm already finished with my work at 6 o'clock, so I still have a fair amount of time for myself, which I spend very pleasantly walking, reading, and writing letters. The neighborhood where I live is very pretty and so peaceful and convivial that one almost forgets one is in London. In front of every house is a small garden with flowers or a couple of trees, and many houses are built very tastefully in a sort of Gothic style. Still, I have to walk for more than half an hour to reach the countryside. We have a piano in the drawing room, and there are also 3 Germans living here who really love music, which is most agreeable. One of the nicest things I've seen here is Rotten Row in Hyde Park, which is a long, broad avenue where hundreds of ladies and gentlemen go riding. In every part of the city, there are splendid parks with a wealth of flowers such as I've seen nowhere else. I enclose a copy of a poem by Van Beers, which you may not know. Our Elizabeth copied it out for me on my last evening in Helvoort because she knew how much I liked it. It's Brabant to a T. I thought you'd enjoy reading it, so I've copied it out for you. It was very thoughtful of your sister Marie to send me an announcement. I'm longing to hear about the wedding, on which I congratulate you as well. Would you be so kind as to send me a list of your birthdays when you get the opportunity? I had one which I've lost. And now, regards, bid everyone in the Poten good day from me, and I wish you all well. Excuse the poor handwriting, it's already late and time to go to bed. Good night. Vincent. The evening hour. Slowly the toll of the Angelus bell resounded o'er the fields, as they blissfully bathed in the gold of the evening sun. O solemn, moving moment, when every mother in the village suddenly stops the wearing of the wheel to bless herself with the sign of the cross, while in the field the farmer reins in his steaming horses, and, behind the plough, bares his head to murmur an Ave. O solemn, moving moment, when the bell that proclaims far and wide the end of the day's work makes those powerful, dripping heads bow down for him who causes the sweat in the furrow to thrive. For the artist too, on the slope of yon shady hill, absorbed in his painting from the earliest morning, the Angelus now gave the sign to retreat. Slowly he wiped his brush and palette, which he stowed with his canvas in the valise, folded his camp stool, and dreamily descended the path that leads, gently winding, through the flowery dale to the village. Yet how oft, before reaching the foot of the hill, did he stand admiringly still, to imprint on his mind once again the refreshing scene down below, unfolding before his eyes. Just before him lay the village, with a hill to north and to south, between whose crests the sun, inflamed and sinking in the west, let flow the whole wealth of its colors and up-conjured glory. The bell in the grey tower entwined with black-green ivy was now silent. Hanging motionless on high were the brown sails of the windmill. The leaves stood still, and above the huts, blue clouds of peat smoke ascended so straight from the chimneys that they, too, seemed to hang motionless in the shimmering air. 'Twas as though this village, this field, those hills, as though everything, before wrapping itself in a cloak of evening dew to sleep beneath the sun's parting kiss, silently and gratefully recalled once more the peace and plenty it had again savored. Soon, though, this silence was gently disturbed by the sweet sounds of the evening. In the distance, from a hollow in the hill, echoed lingeringly the sound of the cow horn, calling the cattle. And at this sign from their herdsman, there soon appeared in the furrowed, sandy mountain road the whole of a colourful herd of cows. Cracking and smacking, the lad's lash drove them forward, while they, as if by turns, their necks outstretched, with friendly lowing, greeted from afar the cowshed where the milkmaid waited for them each evening to ease their taut udders. Thus, on the paths running out from the village like spokes from an axle, there slowly came movement and life. Here 'twas a farmer, dragging homeward a harrow or plough on a sledge, whistling a tune and riding beside on his bay. There, a blushing lass, on her head a lock of sweet clover, laced with daisies and poppies, called from afar to the others, kindly and gaily at once, her clear-toned "Good evening." Further. But on the same track where the painter's path led, he suddenly heard peals of joyous laughter. Rocking from side to side, a wagon, nearly toppling under its load of fresh harvested buckwheat, came rumbling closer, both horse and burden adorned with fluttering ribbons and greenery. Children, all with wreaths of flowers on their little flaxen heads, were seated on top, happily waving branches of alder or scattering flowers and leaves, which rained down on all sides, while round the wagon a troop of country lads and lasses skipped and sang enough to startle the whole drowsy plain. Quietly smiling, the painter, from behind the thicket, watched as the revellers slowly wound their way down the rutted road. "Aye," he thus mumbled, "aye, the Lord must think it a happy sound, the jubilance with which these hearts so simply pour forth their thanks as they gather the last fruits, which He yearly lets grow fully ripe from their toil. Yea, for the purest prayer of simplicity and innocence is joy." And thus contemplating the calm, deep delight upon which the soul feasts in the fields, or with his artist's mind reconstructing in silent rapture the glorious scene of a moment ago, he found he had sauntered, unnoticing, into the village. Already the purple and yellow had faded to grey in the west, and in the east there had risen close by the little church the full, copper-coloured disk of the moon, in mist enshrouded. When he entered, the Swan, the inn where he boarded. Jan van Beers, The Border. To Theo van Gogh. London, Sunday, 20th of July, 1873. My dear Theo, thanks for your letter, which gave me a great deal of pleasure. I'm glad you're well and that living at Mr. Schmidt's is still to your liking. Mr. Obach was pleased to make your acquaintance. I hope that in future we'll do a lot of business with you. That painting by Linder is very beautiful. As to the photogravure, I know more or less how they're made, though I haven't seen it, and it isn't clear enough to me to explain it. English art didn't appeal to me much at first. One has to get used to it. There are some good painters here, though, including Millet, who made The Huguenot, Ophelia, etc. Engravings of which you probably know, they're very beautiful. Then Botton, of whom you know the Puritans going to church in our Galerie Photographique. I've seen very beautiful things by him. Moreover, among the old painters, Constable, a landscape painter who lived around 30 years ago, whose work is splendid, something like Diaz and Daubigny, and Reynolds and Gainsborough, who mostly painted very, very beautiful portraits of women, and then Turner, after whom you'll probably have seen engravings. Several good French painters live here, including Tissot, after whom there are various photos in our Galerie Photographique, Otto Weber and Heilbuth. The latter is currently making dazzlingly beautiful paintings in the style of the one by Linder. Be sure, when you get the chance, to write and tell me whether there are photographs after Wouters, besides Hugo van der Goes and Mary of Burgundy, and whether you also know photographs of paintings by Laguier and de Braquelaire. It's not the elder de Braquelaire I mean, but, I believe, a son of his, who had 3 splendid paintings at the last exhibition in Brussels, titled Antwerp, The School, and The Atlas. Things are going well for me here. I go walking a lot. Here, where I live, it's a quiet, convivial, nice-looking neighborhood. In this, I've really been fortunate. And yet, I sometimes think back with nostalgia to the wonderful Sundays in Scheveningen and so on. But never mind that. You'll surely have heard that Anna is at home and not well. It's a bad start to her holiday, but let's hope she's better by now. Thanks for what you wrote to me about paintings. Be sure to write and tell me if you ever see anything by Laguier, de Braquelaire, Wouters, Maris, Tissot, Georges Sale, Junt, Zim, Mauve, who are painters I like very much, and by whom you'll probably see something now and then. Herewith a copy of that poem about that painter who entered the Swan, the inn where he boarded, which you no doubt remember. It's Brabant to a T, and I'm so fond of it. Lise copied it out for me on my last evening at home. How much I'd like to have you here. What pleasant days we spent together in The Hague. I still think so often of our walk on Rijswijkseweg, where we drank milk at the mill after the rain. If those paintings we have from you are to be sent back, I'll send you a portrait of that mill by Weissenbruch. Perhaps you remember, the merry tune is his nickname. I say, superb. That Rijswijkseweg holds memories for me which are perhaps the most delightful I have. Perhaps we'll speak of it again sometime when we meet. And now, old chap, I wish you well, think of me from time to time and write to me soon. It's so refreshing when I receive a letter. Vincent. My regards to Mr. Schmidt and Edward. How are Uncle Hein and Aunt? Write to me about them. Do you go there often? Give them my warm regards. To Willem and Caroline van Stockholm-Hannebeek. London, Thursday, 7th of August, 1873. My dear friends, it was a very pleasant surprise for me to receive Caroline's letter. Thank you. I sincerely hope that she's now completely better. Fortunately, it's past. When you write again sometime, I must hear more about that last piece you made. I was truly astounded by it. For 10 people, that's surely the biggest you've done. The last few days I've enjoyed reading the poems of John Keats. He's a poet who isn't very well known in Holland, I believe. He's the favorite of the painters here, and that's how I came to be reading him. Herewith, something by him. His most famous piece is St. Agnes Eve, but it's rather too long to copy out. I haven't yet been to the Crystal Palace and the Tower, nor to Tussauds. I'm not at all in a hurry to go and see everything. For the time being, I have enough with the museums, parks, and so on, which attract me more. I had a nice day last Monday. The first Monday in August is a holiday here. I went with one of the Germans to Dulwich, an hour and a half outside L, to see the museum there, and afterwards we walked to a village about an hour further on. The countryside here is so beautiful. Many people who have their business in L live in some village or other outside L and come to the city every day by train. Perhaps I'll soon be doing that as well, if I can find a cheap room somewhere. But I find moving so terrible that I'll stay here as long as possible, though things aren't as nice here as they seemed at first. Perhaps this is my fault, so I'll wait a little longer. I'm sorry that my letter isn't as I'd wish it to be. I'm writing in haste. But I wanted to congratulate you on Willem's birthday and wish you many happy returns. It gave me a great deal of pleasure to hear that you had renewed your acquaintance with the Tersteeg family. I had long been hoping that you would, for your sake. Write to me when you get the chance and tell me which photographs you've received. I'm curious to know. I've had a letter from Marinus and have understood from it that he's going to Amsterdam. That will be a big change for him. I hope he'll do well. I was glad he wrote to me. A day or two ago, I had a visit from a brother of Itterson who lives here, and so had the first opportunity of speaking Dutch since May. We live a long way from each other, which I very much regret. And now I bid you good day. I wish you well. Many regards to everyone in the Poten. I wish you well. Yours truly, Vincent. Cheer me up soon with a letter if you can find the time. The Eve of St. Mark, unfinished. Upon a Sabbath day it fell. Twice holy was the Sabbath bell, that called the folk to evening prayer. The city streets were clear and fair, from wholesome drench of April rains. And, on the western window panes, the chilly sunset faintly told, of unmatured green valleys cold, of the green thorny bloomless hedge, of rivers new with springtide sedge, of primroses by sheltered rills, of daisies on the Agrish hills. Twice holy was the Sabbath bell, the silent streets were crowded well, with staid and pious companies, warm from their fireside oratories, and moving with demurest air to evensong and vesper prayer. Each arched porch and entry low was filled with patient folk and slow, with whispers hush and shuffling feet, while played the organ loud and sweet. The bells had ceased, the prayers begun, and Bertha had not yet half done a curious volume patched and torn, that all day long from earliest morn had taken captive her two eyes among its golden broideries. Perplexed her with 1,000 things, the stars of heaven and angels' wings, martyrs in a fiery blaze, azure saints and silver rays, Moses' breastplate and the 7 candlesticks John saw in heaven, the winged lion of St. Mark and the covenantal ark, with its many mysteries, cherubim and golden mice. Bertha was a maiden fair, dwelling in the old Minster Square. From her fireside she could see, sidelong, its rich antiquity, far as the bishop's garden wall, where sycamores and elm trees tall, full-leaved, the forest had outstripped, by no sharp north wind ever nipped, so sheltered by the mighty pile, Bertha arose and read awhile, with forehead 'gainst the window pane. Again she tried and tried again, until the dusk eve left her dark, upon the legend of St. Mark. From plaited lawn frill, fine and thin, she lifted up her soft warm chin, with aching neck and swimming eyes, and dazed with saintly imageries. All was gloom and silent all, save now and then the still footfall of one returning homewards late, past the echoing Minster gate. The clamorous doors, that all the day, above tree-tops and towers play, pair by pair had gone to rest, each in its ancient belfry nest, where asleep they fall betimes, to music and the drowsy chimes. All was silent, all was gloom, abroad and in the homely room. Down she sat, poor cheated soul, and struck a lamp from the dismal coal, leaned forward with bright drooping hair, and slant book full against the glare. Her shadow, in uneasy guise, hovered about, a giant size, on ceiling beam and old oak chair, the parrot's cage and panel square, and the warm angled winter screen, on which were many monsters seen, called doves of Siam, lima mice, and legless birds of paradise, mako and tender avdavat, and silken-furred Angora cat. Untired she read, her shadow still, glowered about as it would fill the room with wildest forms and shades, as though some ghostly queen of spades had come to mock behind her back, and dance and ruffle her garments black. Untired she read the legend page of holy Mark from youth to age, on land, on sea, in pagan chains, rejoicing for his many pains. Sometimes the learned eremite, with golden star or dagger bright, referred to pious poesies, written in smallest crow-quill size beneath the text, and thus the rhyme was parcelled out from time to time. John Keats, 1818. The imagination may be compared to Adam's dream. He awoke and found it truth. season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend to the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then, in a wailful choir, the small gnats mourn among the river sallows borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the red-breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. To Theo van Gogh, London, Saturday, 13 September 1873. My dear Theo, writing to Uncle Hein, I'm enclosing a word for you. I'm very curious to hear whether you went to Helvoort on Ma's birthday and how it was there. Did you get my letter and the lithograph by Weizenbruch that I put in the crate of paintings? Oh, how I'd like to have you here, old chap, to see my new lodgings, which you'll have heard about. I now have a room, as I've long been wishing, without sloping beams and without blue wallpaper with a green border. It's a very diverting household where I am now, in which they run a school for little boys. Some time ago, I spent a Saturday rowing on the Thames with two Englishmen. It was glorious. Yesterday, I saw an exhibition of Belgian paintings, which included various old acquaintances from the last Brussels exhibition. There were various beautiful things by A. and Julien de Vriend, Cloysenaar, Wouters, Kuzemans, Gabriel, de Champfeleer, and so on. Have you ever seen anything by Terlinden? If you have, be sure to write to me about it. It was truly refreshing to see those Belgian paintings. The English ones are, with few exceptions, very disagreeable and feeble. Some time ago, I saw one with a sort of fish or dragon no less than 6 ells long. It was ghastly. And a little man who was going to kill the above-mentioned creature. And all this represented, I believe, the Archangel Michael slaying Satan. Adieu, old chap. I wish you well and write soon. Vincent. Another English painting is Satan possessing the herd of swine at the Gadarene lake. It showed some 50 black pigs and piglets running helter-skelter downhill and tumbling over each other into the sea. It was very edifying. This was, however, a very clever painting by Prinsep. I just received your letter. That will be quite a change for you now that you're going to The Hague. I bet it'll cost you dearly to say goodbye to beautiful convivial Brussels. But you'll get on well in The Hague too. Thanks for writing to me about the paintings. That painting by Millet must have been very rich. Adieu, I'll write again soon. to Willem and Caroline van Stockholm-Hanebeek, London, between about Thursday the 16th of October and Friday the 31st of October 1873. Dear Caroline and Willem, many thanks for your letter of this morning. It was a wonderful surprise. I'm happy you're doing so well. Our Anna has passed her examinations in English and in needlework. You can imagine how delighted she and all of us are. Pa and Ma have suggested that she stay at school until next April, and in that case attempt French. But if she'd rather not, she needn't do it. I'd like it so much if something could be found for her here. We've talked about this before, as you know. You already know that Theo is coming to The Hague. I think it a good change for him, even though it would be difficult for him to leave beautiful, convivial Brussels. I also received a letter from your pa some time ago and have already answered it, so you'll probably have heard that things are continuing to go well for me here, and also know a thing or two about my new lodgings. What you say about winter is quite right. I think so too. I myself almost don't know which season I like best. I believe all of them equally well. It's striking that the old painters almost never painted the autumn, and that the moderns have such a particular preference for it. Herewith a couple of small photos which I hope will be to your liking. Here there are practically no albums like those we have in Holland, but rather so-called scrapbooks in which one puts photographs, as I've done in this letter, which explains why we don't put the photos in mounts here. The advantage of which is that one can arrange all shapes and sizes on the same sheet however one wants. I would advise you to buy a kind of writing book with blank pages and to put these in it for a start. A baptism is after Anker, a Swiss, who has painted all manner of subjects, all equally sensitive and intimate. Puritans going to church is after Boughton, one of the best painters here. An American, he's very fond of Longfellow, and rightly so. I know 3 paintings by him based on The Courtship of Miles Standish. Seeing the paintings prompted me to read Miles Standish and Evangeline again. I don't know why, but I never knew they were as beautiful as I find them now. The Good Friar is after Van Muyden, a Swiss painter, having as yet more modesty than talent. Mr. Post in The Hague has this painting. If you visit our gallery, ask to see his, Van Muyden's, refectory. There are no more than 4 or 5 copies of this photograph, because the negative is broken. Show it to Mr. Tersteeg when you have the opportunity. The Honeymoon is after Eugène Feyen, one of the few painters who paint intimate modern life as it really is and don't turn it into fashion plates. I know the photo of The Landlady's Daughter, and I find it very beautiful. It's good that you find Bouguereau beautiful. Not everyone is as capable as you are of noticing and feeling good and fine things. And now I'll stop. I'm enclosing another picture of autumn by Michelet. I hope you'll be able to read this. I just kept on writing without thinking that one should take care to make a letter legible. Adieu, I wish you both the best. Many regards to those in the Poten and to any other friends you might see. Vincent. From here I see a lady. I see her walking, pensive, in a garden that is not very big and has lost its flowers quite early, but is sheltered, like the ones one sees behind our cliffs in France, or the dunes of Holland. The exotic shrubs have already gone back into the greenhouse. The fallen leaves reveal some statues, a sumptuousness of art, which contrasts slightly with the very simple attire of the lady, modest, grave, the black or grey silk of which is barely brightened by a plain lilac ribbon. Unadorned, this we can say, she is no less elegant. Elegant for her husband and simple for the benefit of the poor. She reaches the end of the avenue, turns, we can see her. But have I not seen her before, in the museums of Amsterdam or The Hague? She reminds me of a lady by Philippe de Champagne, N.B., in the Louvre, who had found her way into my heart, so ingenuous, so honest, sufficiently intelligent, yet simple, without the subtlety to extricate herself from the snares of the world. This woman has remained with me for 30 years, obstinately returning to me, worrying me, making me say, but what was she called? What became of her? Did she have a little happiness? And how did she manage to get through life? She reminds me of another portrait, a Van Dyck, a poor woman, very pale, unhealthy. The pale satin of her incomparably delicate skin clothes a sickly body, which is beginning to slacken. A great melancholy fills her lovely eyes, the melancholy of old age, of heartbreaks, of the climate too, perhaps. It is the vague, distant look of someone who has lived within sight of the vast North Sea, the great grey sea, deserted but for the flight of the seagull. Jules Michelet, Les aspirations de l'automne. To Theo van Gogh, London, Wednesday, 19th November 1873. My dear Theo, I want to make sure that you hear from me soon after arriving in The Hague. I'm longing to hear your first impression of your new position and lodgings. I heard about the beautiful souvenir you got from Mr. Schmidt, which just shows that you did very well indeed. I'm glad that we're both working for the same firm now. Latterly, we've had quite a few paintings and drawings and sold a lot of them, but we still have a long way to go. It has to become more solid and lasting and substantial. I believe that there's still a lot to do here in England, but it can't be done all at once. And of course, the first thing we need is to have good paintings and so on, and that will be quite a feat. Well, we have to see how it goes and do the best we can with the means at our disposal. How are the nouveautés selling in Holland? Here, there's literally almost nothing to be done with the ordinary engravings after Brochard and so on. The good Burin engravings sell quite well. Among other things, we've already sold around 20 artist proofs of the Venus Anadyomene after Ingres. But it's a delight to see how the photos sell, especially the colored ones, and they yield a handsome profit. The Musée Goupil et Compagnie photos we sell only en papillote, around 100 a day on average. I imagine you'll like walking in the gallery in The Hague, once you've got used to it a little. I don't doubt that your lodgings at the Rousses will be to your liking. You should walk a lot if you can find the time. Bid a very good day from me to all the Rousses. You must write and tell me which painters you like best, both the old and the new. You must be sure to do this. I'm curious to know. You must in any case go to the museum often. It's good to be acquainted with the old painters too. And if you get the chance, read about art, and especially magazines about art, the Gazette des Beaux-Arts and so on. When there's an opportunity, I'll send you a book by Burger about the museums of The Hague and Amsterdam. When you finished it, there will be an opportunity to send it back to me. Ask Itterson to write to me if he has a moment, and in particular to send me a list of the painters who were awarded prizes at the Paris exhibition. Is Somerville still with the firm, or has he left now that you're coming? Things are going all right for me here. I have a nice home, and even though the firm isn't as exciting as the Hague branch, it's perhaps good that I'm here, and later on, especially when the trade in paintings becomes a little more important, I'll possibly be of use. And then I can't tell you how interesting it is to see London and the trade and the way of life here, which are so very different from ours. You'll have had some pleasant days at home. How much I'd like to see them all again too. Tell everyone who asks after me that I bid them good day, especially the Tersteegs, Hannebeeks, Aunt Fee, Van Stockums and the Rousses, and give Betsy Tersteeg news of me sometime when she comes downstairs. And now, old chap, I wish you well. Write to me soon. Vincent. Do you have my room at the Rousses or the one you slept in last summer? To Caroline van Stockum Annebeck. London, Thursday 20th of November, 1873. Dearest Caroline, I wish you many happy returns. It will surely be a festive day, this first birthday in your own house. I hope that this will be a very good and happy year for you both. You've received my last letter, I hope. Write soon with news of how everyone is doing. I'm longing to hear something again. Have you seen Theo yet? I heard that he arrived in The Hague last Wednesday. Herewith, a small contribution for the album. I'm fine, but I'm up to my ears in work and only have a moment. Bid good day to everyone in the Potten. How I'd like to look in on you today. I wish you both the best. Yours truly, Vincent.